Hello everyone, welcome to CGTurf. My name is Tatenda. Today I'm going to be showing you how to set up your lighting for your 3D product animation using Arnold. So I'm just going to start with some primitive shapes like a sphere, a cube and a cylinder. I'm not going to go over how to model because I'm assuming you already have something you've modeled and you just want to light it up. So I'm not gonna go over like how to model or anything, and this is not even a modeling tutorial because these are just primitive shapes. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna create a camera. As a matter of fact, let me go to Arnold, hit Arnold render view, which is this huge window. It was on my second monitor, that's why it was so big. So in this window, it's a real-time renderer, so you have to press play for it to actually start rendering. And right now it's rendering and it's black because obviously there are no lights. All right, I'm gonna create, let me create and go to Arnold, and then I'm gonna go to lights. I'm gonna select, so I use a sky dome because a sky dome basically lights up the entire area. It's like a 360 light, because if you, for example, if you use, for example, like an area light, it's just, you actually have got more control of the light, and the area light is actually useful for certain things. For example, even after you use the sky dome light, you may want to use the aerial light maybe to sort of have more light in a certain area, but you can actually create an entire scene with aerial lights. But for the purposes of this tutorial, the 3D product animation, I'm just gonna use a sky dome light. All right, okay, and let me bring back my real-time renderer. All right, so sky dome light, it lights the entire area. Okay, the other thing I need to create is a plane. Let's put that here. Okay. All right, just like that. All right. So now we're gonna create, because right now it's rendering from my perspective view, but I actually want to use a separate camera just for the final render that we need to use, something that won't be moving as much. Oh, and by the way, I went to create cameras and then I clicked camera. Okay, and then right now I'm just gonna hold space, select panels and look through selected, and now I'm actually looking through the camera, and I'm gonna select this option. It's like a film gate, this right here. It lets you see what's gonna be in the final render. That way you can position your camera like the way you want. Okay, I think this is fine. And then on the real-time renderer, I'm gonna change the current render to camera. It's not coming up. Maybe I should stop, or maybe I should just exit and start the Arnold render view again. Wow, okay, this is okay. Wow, it's like there's, I don't know, it's glitching, I don't know what's going on, but anyway, we're good. So I've selected the camera, and this is the view that we want. Now I'm not sure where I'm gonna put this. I think let me put this because I'm gonna be fiddling with this area a lot. So for now, let me just bring the size down. Okay. So what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna apply some textures to these primitive shapes. So I'm gonna right click, hold right click, and then select apply new material, and then we're gonna select Arnold aiStandardSurface. So I'm gonna do this to all the geometry. Let's surface. I'm doing it one by one because if you select all the geometry and you just apply the texture, then whatever changes you make to that one texture is gonna change everything. But you don't want that, because you do want to apply different type of textures to each model. And also the ground. Standard. Oh, apply new material, and then Arnold standard surface. Cool. This is good. You can see already, I mean, and this is just with the basic sky dome light. You can, I mean, depending on what you want to do, sometimes you don't want something to look fancy or whatever. You can even use this lighting alone, because this lighting alone already, it's looking okay. It's actually looking good. So now I'm just gonna apply. Oh yeah, I already did that. So I'm gonna select the cylinder and go to the tab, the attributes editor, and select the aiStandardSurface tab. Now from here, this is where you're gonna change the settings of the texture that I applied. And then there's this presets button. Obviously, I mean, depending on what you want to do, you can tweak these settings to create what you want. I even show how to do that when you want to create like a glass material. You can actually check out one of my tutorials for that. I think I'll link it in maybe somewhere so that you can click it and check it out if you want. But anyway, you're gonna click presets, and for the cylinder I'm just gonna make like a plastic. And the materials I'm applying, I mean, I'm thinking in terms of, because usually for this type of lighting, like products like headphones, electronic devices, cell phones, things like that. So that's sort of the lighting that I'm setting this up for, for like product visualizations. So under the base, I'm just gonna change this to black, but not black, but like a dark gray, something like that. And then I can see that it's really shiny, but it's fine. Okay, I'm gonna change it later. On this one, I'm gonna put plastic as well, but I'm gonna make this maybe gray but a little lighter. The sphere, actually want to do something different, like maybe like something so shiny like a chrome. and right now it's not looking good because it is actually acting the way it's supposed to act. It's white, but it's actually supposed to be like a mirror, but because of the lighting it's not looking realistic because there's like light all over. So let me just make this bigger so that you can see what's going on. Okay, I think let me put this on the side for a second. I just want to make sure that the settings are fine. So the ground, I'm just gonna maybe do that to it. As you can see, I've just applied the like it was like this, and then on base I just reduced the color to make it more darker, something like that. Okay, so now I mean it's looking okay, but I think also for this ground I'm just gonna put some roughness to it. Like the specular is too much. I'm gonna reduce it, and then I'm gonna add some roughness to sort of make the ground rough, not like too shiny and too reflective like that. Now what else? I think actually the next thing that we actually need to focus on is the ground. And I mean right now it's just a flat ground, but I actually want to take the time to sort of make the backdrop that I use for renders like this. So I've just created a cube, and okay, let me stop this render. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the channel box. I'm gonna go to imports, and then I'm just gonna add some subdivisions. I've just shift selected the subdivisions options, and then I'm gonna hold my middle mouse, and then I'm gonna drag to sort of add, you see. So but then I just want this like a 3x3 cube. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna right click, select faces. I'm gonna select these faces. If you hit 4, you can see that I've just selected those faces. Then I'm gonna hit backspace on my keyboard, and I'm gonna be left with that. Now what I'm gonna do next is to right click, select edge, double click on that edge, then I'm gonna bevel it. So under the modeling menu set, you go to edit mesh, select bevel, and on the fraction, I think that's good. Maybe I need to put 0.5, and then on the segments, I'm just middle mouse click. I select segments, and then I middle mouse click and drag to sort of add or subtract the segments. And I think, well, 5 is actually too much. You know what? 2 segments are okay. And then I just click away. And then right now what's happening is this side is black, the outside is actually, that's where the texture is. So but then I want the texture to be this side, so I'm just gonna click the geometry, go to mesh display, and click reverse. So now this side is the side that's gonna be renderable. When you do that, you're actually changing where the normals are facing, basically telling, like the software telling, you know, the camera what to render. Then I'm gonna press 3 to smooth that out, and I'm just gonna scale this up quite a bit. I need to change the orientation. I'm gonna press D, and then press V and hold V, and then just drag it so that it goes at the bottom. And then I'm gonna press D again. So now when I scale it, it scales from the bottom. Okay. And just put that there. Oh wow, all this time I was using the camera. I wasn't supposed to do that. But anyway, let me just put it back and go back to my perspective view. Okay, let's see. Okay. I mean, I'm gonna keep this one. I'm actually gonna apply the same texture. So I right click, and then I'm just gonna go to assign existing materials. And I remember that the 4th one is the ground. It's gonna be the same, because I want you to, because like right now that is here, I just wanted to show you the difference. If I remove this, you know, you've got that background. I mean, which maybe if that's what you want, you can do that. But for my product animation renders, I would rather use this type of background where the actual back curves. I've seen this in, I mean, if you have done like photography, I've seen this in photo studios. They do this a lot, to use that kind of backdrop. It like it just gives that smooth transition, you know. So that's something to keep in mind. Just gonna move this chrome. Yeah, and also like with this, the chrome is actually looking better, but we are not quite yet there. All right, so I think, I mean, it's looking great, but I think now the next thing, we need to actually add a texture to the sky dome light. So what you can do, you can go to your outliner and you can click this, or you can just, because the sky dome light is actually like a big sphere, you see. So we're just gonna select it, and gonna go to the attributes editor, and then under color, sky dome light attributes color, we're gonna select the checked box, and we're gonna select file. All right, and then after we select file, we're gonna select the image we want to use, and I've got like a studio setup, but I want to use this one, especially for the Chrome. I mean, you can actually use this one, but for this tutorial, I'm gonna use this one instead. I'm using that one just because of like the Chrome. I really want to show you how the Chrome, the difference it's gonna look. So right now, this is what we are looking at right now, and then when I apply the HDRI image, now it looks like this. So you see now how the Chrome is reflecting the background very well, and it's looking like that. I mean, like for the purposes of just, you know, experimenting, I can also just add the studio lighting, and yep, the studio lighting, I might need to, if I select the sky dome light under intensity, I just need to add a little bit more intensity. It's maybe 5. Yeah, I think 5 looks fine. So I mean, this is the studio lighting. I mean, if this is the look you want, go for it. And the cool thing is that HDRI images, there are plenty online, and if you've got a nice camera, you can actually make one yourself, like a 360 view camera. Did I say HDRI? I think I meant to say like a 360 cam. But anyway, so I'm actually gonna use the first, this one. For me, it's producing the best results. Oh yeah, the intensity is still at 5. Let me put it back. Okay, at 1. Maybe 2 would be fine, I guess. Yeah, 1.5. Okay. So I mean, this is really where you wanna be, but another tip I need to share, I think that, and I think something that this is really, and also just to mention, the sky dome lighting or the environmental light is really what separates professional looking renders from like amateur renders, you know, because usually when you're studying in 3D, you just take a light and then you just take one light and just blast it on the model, which is something, unless if that's the look you want, but usually that's not the look you want anyway. So, but then another thing I wanted to mention, these models, as much as the render looks nice, the models also play a very important role in terms of how the light is gonna react. I mean, in this case, the sphere is not gonna count. The sphere is fine, but the cylinder and the cube. So for instance, I actually don't need that many subdivisions. Let me just reduce them to like 6. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, okay, let me stop this render if I can. Okay, so I'm just gonna, so now I'm not just right clicking, I'm holding shift and then I right click and then I select insert edge loop tool. So I'm gonna insert an edge loop. Edge loops are so important, because in the real world, like you see how like sharp the edge is. In the real world, it doesn't work that way. Let me change this camera and show you. Like you see how like that sharp edge is not, that's not really how things look in real life. And a lot of professional artists, they always say, if you want to make your 3D renders look good, make sure the edges are not sharp. You have to smooth them out. So by adding edge loops like this, I'm gonna add maybe one more here, and then I'm gonna add one at the bottom, maybe somewhere here, and let me press 3 for a preview. Okay, so that's just a preview to see how it's gonna look when I smooth it. So now I'm gonna go to mesh, under modeling menu, set mesh, smooth. Ooh, made a mistake. I'm supposed to go back to object mode, and then I smooth. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit G again so that it smoothes it again. Then I'm gonna hit 3. So now when I render it, it's gonna give you that, you know, that kind of edge where the light actually hits the, like, sort of like a rim light, and it makes a huge difference. So I'm just gonna go back to the, and already you can see it's already making a very big difference, as you can see that in the render. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the cube. Let me put that on the side. The other way is, if I select edge, for example on this cube, I'm gonna select all the edges and go to edit mesh, bevel, right? And then on the fraction, I'm gonna put 0.05. Okay, that's fine. Segments, maybe 4. And then object mode, hit 3 to smooth it out. And then I'm gonna press play. And already that's looking, you know, I mean, you can also reduce the fraction. I mean, because like even after I do this, I can always go back to the bevel and edit offset fraction. Maybe if I really want a sharp edge, maybe 0.02. I mean, as much as I'm making it sharp, but it's actually not very sharp, as, you know, like as if they're just two planes meeting together. There's actually geometry within those sharp edges, which makes it look better. So I mean, basically this is it. But maybe let me just add, I just want to see if I can maybe add like a second cylinder and a second sphere, and just add some extra materials, just for variety. I'm just adding the same way I did the first time. Let's see, presets. Let me make this plastic, replace, like make this red or something, and this one maybe Arnold surface. Maybe I can make this one, I guess we can make it gold. Let's hit play. Yeah, the cool thing is, while you're actually rendering, you can select, if you select the models in the render, you can actually sort of change, you know, like for example, like if I don't like how that looks, I can like change it. Can I make that red a bit darker? Can I make this main one maybe darker as well? Maybe I can make this one shiny, reduce the roughness. I can move this back, move this on the side like that. Yep. And this one can go like here. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I think this is it really. Maybe we can, I guess we can add some roughness because it's looking a bit, oh, not the specular. Can add some roughness to it like that, just to give contrast. And let me just let this render for a while, because this is gonna be the thumbnail. Let me actually fix this. Let me get this closer, because this is gonna be the thumbnail for the video. Okay. All right. So yeah, this is like, this is how I light, especially for like product animations. You can definitely, I mean, the cool thing is that you can always change. For example, if you don't like, because also the green from the background is actually reflecting on the, like on the ground and on the, like on the material, it's actually changing the way it looks. You can also edit that in Photoshop. You know, you can actually change the colors in Photoshop as well, and sort of change the way this whole thing look. Or maybe you like the way it lights and you can just make it black and white. That way it's not gonna change colors at all. But realistically, you know, this is how you can achieve this type of render. I hope you enjoy you enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope you've learned something. And if you've got any questions at all, I forgot one more thing. The samples, I can see that the samples are not really, I mean, those samples are okay for, obviously, for testing renders. But for instance, in this case, I might put 5 on camera, specular, I'll put 4, volume, I'll put 3, direct, I'll put 3. Yeah, this is gonna be a different tutorial. Maybe a tutorial on just the rendering part, when you're actually rendering for actually your products and stuff, like when you're finalizing. But basically, this is like your sampling. This is gonna be your final look. So, you know, the more these numbers are, the longer the renders are gonna take, but also the crispier your render is gonna look. So for instance, now this render is gonna take longer. I'm gonna, you know, do the magic. I'm gonna skip it to the end so that you can just see the final. All right, it looks like it's done. That took like 1 minute 31 seconds. Now I think obviously you need to change these settings when you're actually rendering the final images. And also, this is 540p, I think. This is not even full HD, but because I'm just, you know, making this tutorial, I don't need to render, because then it's gonna be taking long to actually show you the final result. It's always best to like use like a low quality so that you can just see sort of the final look before you actually start rendering the final images. So yes, I hope this has been helpful. And if you have any questions, or maybe if you've actually got any suggestions for something that I could have even done better, please feel free to share in the comments. And I'm gonna say this for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so that next time I upload a tutorial, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.